Hello, LA. We drove all the way from New York just to see you guys, and I am so excited. I'm going to give you a little bit of a mind vitamin, something to get your mind right for our walk together tonight. So I was thinking about, why do we all come out here? What's going on? Well, yes, we like to take photos, but why do we like to take photos? I was also thinking about that within the context of my kids, because, as some of you might have known, the kids were actually with me for the first 4 cities on this trip. And, they're little artists. My little girls like to make stuff on construction paper. My son likes to play the piano. Well, why are they creating art? Why is he creating songs? I think it only appears that is what they're creating. But what they're actually creating is themselves. And it's the same way with all of us. We only appear to be creating photos, but what we're really creating is ourselves. And I think that's a beautiful thought. And all together, we can take this to the next level. We can kind of take this creation to the next order of magnitude as we all work together, we all learn together. This is not a zero-sum game. Creativity is infinite, and we can all share in that pie. So what happens at a photo walk? I know that when I do these, I find that typically 50% of the people here have never been on a photo walk, and they feel kind of, like not ready for it, or they're not sure what's going on. Don't feel like that. It's a super chill crowd. Everything's all right. If you ever have any questions, just find someone with a bigger camera and ask them. Let me ask you guys, who here has heard of the Arcanum? All right, pretty good. Now we're almost half, maybe. How many have actually made it inside the Arcanum? All right, let me invite the masters up here very fast. They can briefly introduce themselves. While they come up here, let me tell you what it is, all right? I feel like I talk about it all the time. I feel like, why doesn't everyone raise their hand? But after this, you can. So I know many of you have been coming to the website for years. That's great. And I've been putting up videos, and you've been learning, and this is really awesome. I think it's great. But there's actually a better way, a much more personal way. And that's why about a year ago, Curtis and I and Pete started something called the Arcanum. And we basically brought back the master and apprentice style of learning in just a totally new way. So basically how it works is you go into thearcanum.com and you fill out an application. And it's something I recommend everyone does, because the application process itself is really, really fun. And then your application just kind of sits there, like in an orphanage, and you wait for a master to select you. And we have many, many masters. We have about 1,000 people in the Arcanum now. And one of the masters will come choose you, and they'll send you a personal invite. And you'll get to read all about them, watch their Meet the Master video. You'll choose if you would like to learn from underneath that master in a very personal way and join their cohort. It's super fun. It's kind of like Hogwarts online. You level up. You start at level 1, level 2. Every 5 levels, you have your own personal critique. That's kind of recorded on YouTube for you to see and everyone else to see. And it's just a really amazing way to learn. It's really changing people's lives. So if you're kind of going down this path, I really highly recommend it, because it is something awesome that we're building. And so the question as a photographer is, how do you easily communicate the 3D world in 2D? And one way is by smartly placing objects in a sequence that easily communicate in Z depth to the viewer. So you just break it down, and so much of photography is about reductionism, reducing things to their basic shapes and letting them play well together. So that's what I'm trying to do with my shot here. And also your desire to get a long exposure. Of course, you do want to get the Ferris wheel when it's spinning, at least I do, so that means you need to have a very long exposure. And when you have the long exposure, the flags are flapping like cray-cray. So what I do is I do a series of shots. I do 3 long exposures, and then I drop down my f-stop, down as low as it'll go, and I crank up my ISO. In this case, I cranked it up to, I think, 1600, and I take 3 fast shots. And now, in those, the flags are perfectly clear. So I'll end up making 2 final shots, and I will combine them all into one shot to rule them all. And I do that using Photoshop. I'm a Photoshop kind of guy, because in that case, you kind of have to use layering, and there's no way around it, I don't think. You can just do it without getting the wheel spinning or the other way, but you can't get both. So you do have to create a composite. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as I'm taking this shot. right? You might notice that it really doesn't matter. Anything looks good in Instagram. Like it could be like a little leaf. It's just barely on the edge. You're like, whoa, it's so well composed. So you can do anything with a square. I've always wondered why this is. Like, why are we so flexible and open with formats that are not rectangular? My half-baked theory is that we've been watching rectangular cinema and TV for so long, and we've seen. I love movies. I really get into movies. I'm like sort of a helpless romantic, and I love getting into all that stuff. And so, I think we've seen so many amazing directors do so many cool movies over the years. We've just come to know good composition through their artistry. And so we just know what works and what doesn't work in a rectangle. But we have yet to develop those rules yet for squares, or even portrait orientation. So anyway, portrait orientation is always a very easy way to get a good composition. And this is my favorite photo so far. In fact, I'm super excited about it.